Hello everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the process that I kind of go through for the VBridger mouth rigging. I'm purely focusing only on the mouth movements. You will not see any face movements or anything like that. As you can see, I've already got all of the glue done for all the different layers for the lips. So all I ever need to move is the lip line. And you'll see that I kind of make sure that it's easy for me to navigate by putting them in a deformer. Nothing will happen on this deformer until basically the end of the video. So I am just doing regular 2x2 mouth form and mouth open. And so the mouth form on one was already done. That was the perfect shape. So now we're just making the frowny face. And I'm not going to speed up through this. That way you can kind of take your time as well and pause, because you can just speed this up on like YouTube or something. So you're going to see me do a lot of just back and forth just to see if everything looks like it's moving pretty smoothly. So that's always kind of what I make sure to do. And you'll notice that the bottom lip line does not match to perfect the top lip line. And this is purely because I've noticed that if I make the bottom one the same shape as the frown, when it opens up, the meshes, the vertices can kind of do some weird stuff. So that's the only reason why I keep it more flattened. And you'll see that the mouth is actually, it was moved down, and that's purely to put it in center with the inside of the teeth. So when smiling, I always try to make sure that the closed smile is in the same section as the where the teeth meet. If it's not, if it doesn't look, if it looks like it's too low, you can always just move everything up. So that's the good thing about not putting any of this into a deformer too soon. And then this is where I'm fixing the glue, because I realized that some of the skin and the highlights were looking not how I'd like them. And that's probably the good thing about learning glue, is you can make these kinds of adjustments, and it helps you kind of work less. And so it's just me figuring out why it is that this lip skin is showing still through the lip lines. And I didn't want to fast forward through any of this purely because you'll actually see like that it's not an easy just rig it and you're done. You kind of have to troubleshoot in between. I prepped this as best as I possibly knew how, and I still have to go over and fix a few things. And I didn't even record me actually working on the mesh. So, with how long this video is, just for the rigging part, the prepping part, can take another, what, hour if you really don't know what you're doing, and then maybe 30 or so minutes if you already have a groove. And so this is where I'm making the decision where do I make the top lip a lot lower down, because if this model were to have tongue out, it needs to go under the top lip. So if I make the bottom lip too high up, it's not going to get covered up by that top lip. So this is where I'm kind of trying to decide, oh, that's way too high up and it needs to be much lower. And then you'll see here that I am moving the teeth with mouth open first. This is just so I can visualize how everything's going to open up and move. All right, and this is where I am going to start the funnel. And this is where a lot of people were confused at what I was doing with two funnel parameters, one being a blend shape and one being a regular keyform. It's basically just so that if I ever have a hard time picturing a really good transition between it, I can always just copy paste that form that I like that's in between and put it on an actual key form. And the reason why I use a key form over a blend shape for my funnel and my press slip is purely just the control. It gives me control over what the mouth form is going to look like specifically. So that's really important for me. And you'll see, like, with the blend shape, it just doesn't look good at all if I go to mouth form -1. That was pretty ugly. So this is where I figure I should show you guys what I'm actually clicking. So it's just a Control Shift C, Control Shift V. So, oh shoot, you actually can't even see it. Lamau commentary. I did not know that you would not see the keys that I'm pressing, even though I enabled that. But now we know. So I'm basically looking for now a funnel that I like, a form that I can copy from the blend shape. And so that's what I had done, and now I'm pasting it. I'm going to paste it into the -1 mouth form. And there you go. That's Control Shift C, Control Shift V as in Victor. So I'm fixing that up now for the -1. And this is where I'm trying to make sure that it's the same width when it opens to funnel. And now we're moving on to press lip, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to use the blend shape to give us a decent middle ground, and it's not perfect. You may not get a middle ground and you'll have to manually rig it. It's there if you need it. I don't use the blend shape parameters anymore just because I've gotten so used to the process. So I've never really needed to copy and paste anymore. But this is, I'm showing you guys how it can kind of help you visualize in rigging the way it should look to make it smooth. And this is me kind of deciding whether I should be showing the fangs or not. Most of the time, people do want to see the fangs if they have them. So now I'm trying to kind of figure out, well, where's the best place I can kind of make this into not too big of a smile, but still be able to see some fang action in there. And so you'll see that I'm now testing to see what this blend shape looks like on -1, and it's just like the bottom lip is really ugly. So I'm trying to pick something in between. And I'm not even sure if I end up picking something. So I did pick something, and I was like, no, this is freaking ugly. I'm just gonna do it myself. This is a really hard mouth to make. Actually, you'd have to frown quite a bit in order to make this mouth. So it's not the biggest deal on how this one looks, but you know, just for consistency's sake, we obviously want to make sure that everything is rigged properly. Once again, I'm just checking to make sure everything moves smoothly. And now we go into the press lip -1, and This one's usually pretty easy. I don't really need a blend shape for this one, just because it's just pressing your lip down together, whatever makes it look like it's getting sucked in. And so I actually ended up copying that blend shape over, and it made a pretty dang good press slip for the -1 mouth form. So I just used that. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And so once you're done with getting everything in the right place, you can just delete those keyforms, or rather, delete the parameters. We don't need those anymore. We're on our own now. And so this is where I'm testing, just making sure everything moves smoothly and everything looks like it's connecting. It doesn't look too drastic, it doesn't stutter. Everything is smooth. So here I'm going to go ahead and put in an in-between for mouth form. Depending on how sensitive you make your mouth smile tracking in VTube Studio, you may not need to put in an in-between, but I like to, since I don't make mine too sensitive. I'll put it somewhere between -0.2 or -0.3 or -0.4. It all depends how sensitive I make my VTube Studio tracking. And this is where I finally start moving on to changing stuff for the jaw open. And that was wrong. I do not want my top teeth moving on jaw open. You definitely can. There's nothing wrong with that. I just haven't happened to have mine on mouth open for the top teeth. Anything the bottom teeth or the tongue, that's all jaw open. Again, you can see me making sure everything is kind of looking smooth. Nothing stutters. So here you're going to see me actually making sure that I have this mouth form copy pasted. So it's just Control Shift C, Control Shift V. We're going to make sure to do a little wiggle wiggle between funnel and press lip to make sure that the mouth open that I want on that keyform is actually on every single one. And then this is where we give it a little bit more personality and a little bit of bounce. So I have mouth open and jaw open with keyforms, and only on jaw open 1, mouth open 0, it will go down. So that gives it that kind of like Shrek face, the little like, huh? Like a, huh? Like a, like a, it's kind of sus. And so now I am going to export and I'm just testing it to make sure that most of it moves smoothly. This doesn't have pucker, widen, or shrug, so it's not going to be using everything, but this was just to show you how the rigging goes. And then we'll do a little lip sync.
空にある何かを見つめてたらそれは星だって君が教えてくれたまるでそれは僕らみたいに寄り添ってるそれを泣いたり笑ったり繋いでゆく何十回何百回ぶつかり合って何十年何百年昔の光が星自身も忘れた頃に僕らに届いてる僕ら見つけ合ってたくり合って同じ空輝くのだって二人だって約束して遥か遠く終わらないベテルギウス誰かにつなぐ魔法僕ら肩の